Are you ready?
Hey, let's do this thing.
I'm Randy.
I'm Calvin, and we are the original security guys, and we do it
Okie
style. All right, so there's a problem. People are getting hacked all the time.
That's a problem? Not for the hackers?
Not for the hackers, huh? Okay. If you have a vulnerability in your system that wasn't fixed by the original creator.
Wait a minute. Wasn't fixed or was created by the original creator who didn't code it properly to begin with?
Yes.
Okay.
They did it. They wrote the software. They did it. They wrote it. That vulnerability is there. And I don't want to say that they did it intentionally, but they were rushed to market, get it out. Okay. Who's responsible? Okay, if your company that's holding your information, they're supposed to keep it secure, and they don't. Who's responsible?
Well, obviously the company was supposed to keep it secure. I mean, you should have an end user agreement that says that they'll do that.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, who's paying for it, right? All right. So let's talk about that.
You are multiple ways.
So who is responsible for cybersecurity? Who's responsible for securing systems? Who's responsible whenever your personal information gets compromised? So
I am. You are. And you are.
That's right.
We're all responsible for our data. Let's quit passing the buck. Let's quit handing it out like cough drops at a winter flu.
So on the Microsoft operating system that you use, what do you do to go through the code to find all those bugs and fix them so that you can't be hacked?
There's this great thing, Windows Update. I don't do massive amounts of code analysis. I try to protect the perimeter. I try to not use risky websites or websites that I consider risky. I do not run.
Okay, hang on. You're creating a pretty good list here. Now, hold on. You do all of those and guarantee you'll never get hacked.
As long as I keep it in the OFF position.
I was thinking in concrete in the bottom of the ocean.
I mean, there's no guarantee that I'm not going to get hacked. I just try to look at what the risks are and limit the risk so that the chances of that occurring are reduced.
Now, yeah. So, but what we're talking about here is really more of a legal issue than it is a technology issue. When something bad happens, who's at fault? Like, for example, if a building, was not built correctly and for whatever reason, and it collapsed and the structure of it failed, is the residents, the tenants, the people that were in that building, are they responsible for that?
Well, if it's a skyscraper and all the tenants on one side of the building had water beds, it could be.
Well, I guess so.
Yeah, bring it back to reason, though.
Right.
It's generally the builder and the architect, the people who built it and engineered it. But you've also got the city inspectors who should have known that it wasn't up to code. And, I mean, there's not one single point of failure in the whole mess with multiple points where it should have been caught.
Yeah. So we have the same thing when you're talking about like the operating systems or applications, things that get compromised now. So when you're talking about Windows or even Linux or even Mac, I mean...
No. Mac's secure. It can't be hacked.
Yeah, that's what they say every time it gets hacked.
Yeah. Well, there was a point in time when it wasn't worthy of hacking because it just wasn't enough of them out there.
That's true.
Now all the Apple fanboys have increased the numbers and made it an appetizing item.
So most common operating system and applications that are out there are Microsoft right now.
Still Microsoft.
So there are programmers, engineers, developers. They develop these applications. They write the code, and they do all of that. And ultimately, they're the first line. They're the ones that build this. Either, let's just say for now, either knowingly or unknowingly or unintentionally, there are vulnerabilities that allows those systems those applications to be compromised at some point in the future.
Well, and some of those vulnerabilities that are coded could be brought about by insecurities in other programs.
Could be.
So, they may have been tested to the best of everyone's knowledge at that point in time, only to discover that they missed a pretty key factor.
Right. So the problem that I see, it's like it's kind of this moving target of who's liable, because again, you can say, well, they wrote it, then they should have known. Well, what if they did everything that they could, everything they believed, they ran it through all tests. Let's say they even had third-party auditors come in and look at it, and it's good, it's secure. We all know, well, what's secure today may not be secure 5 minutes after everybody walks away, because new technology changes, users using that technology in ways that was not necessarily intended, but is just a very popular way of using it, now all of a sudden have created these risks, these vulnerabilities that do get exploited by hackers.
Yeah.
Who's at fault for that, right?
It's a slippery slope.
It is.
We used to work with a gentleman who might have been placed on hold on a voice over IP phone that was a beta, and he might have hit the pound button an excessive number of times, like 56, 54, something like that. And it caused the phone to reboot and go into diagnostics mode, which gave him admin console. Wasn't anything that anybody intended, and it was reported as a bug and fixed, but who would think of sitting there hitting a pound key 50 plus times?
But that was intentionally put into that code.
Was it?
It don't automatically do that. We, despite all of the AI that we have today, those kind of things, I mean, they're backdoors that are put in by the original programmers that were not actually taken out prior to it going. And you said it was beta. Okay, they don't have to take it out.
No, they don't have to take it out.
So, all right, but sometimes those backdoors inadvertently get left in even after it goes production and it gets out into the world and people start using it.
I think that one was actually a buffer overflow. But yeah.
Sure.
I guess we could always just ask Chat GPT.
We could. All right, so that's the first level of, should I say, potential risk and liabilities, right? Is the people that actually create it. The second level would be, okay, what about the organizations that use that software, but they're storing your personal information, your protected, your date of birth, your social security number, all the things that are personal and private and confidential to you. Now they're storing your information on these insecure platforms, right? They're not insecure to start with, and they do whatever it is. I mean, do they take some culpability and liability, because we have patches and updates that come out all the time?
Well,
they didn't get to it, as fast enough. I don't know.
How many breaches have we had in the past because a individual inadvertently or on purpose clicked a checkbox on AWS and shared out an S3 bucket?
Right. Shared it out to the world.
Yeah.
What you mean? I can share out the C drive to my computer to the entire world, but only I'm going to connect to it because only I know the username and password.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Kazaa, Morpheus, Nutella.
Yeah. Okay. We know that even if an organization is very diligent in installing the patches and hot fixes and things like that as they come out, we have experienced, especially if you're working in an environment that is a little bit more secure, installing patches, installing those fixes can break your security.
It can also make your written software stop functioning.
Yeah. It comes with a lot of inherent risks. That's why organizations, why don't they just install it right away? It's because in the IT world, they're trying to secure your data. There's a lot more to securing that than just saying, I got to install a patch just because it came out and I got to do. They're going to have test systems. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to test that. They're going to have to install it. They're going to have to make sure that it's not going to break something else or lessen the security that's in place, right?
Well, and still deal with securing a system, installing software patches, then explaining what drift is.
Yeah.
Where for our audience, drift is when you secure a system to a certain level standard, and then you apply the software patches, which adjust registry settings and then adjust the security settings by adjusting the registry. You rerun the test to verify that the system remains or is still at that security setting, and it has changed because of those patches that you applied. Now you have to go back and figure out, can you adjust this back, or does it essentially undo your patch? And if it does, then you have to look at what it does and either adjust the security setting or accept the risk or talk to the manufacturer and wait for a new patch.
Okay. You lost our audience. Patch?
Patch? Patches?
It didn't work? What do you mean? Microsoft won't tell me if it didn't work?
Oh, no. Microsoft will always tell you it works.
Of course. But then now we're talking about the IT and the security staff that organizations hire to protect information. Having been security professionals ourselves, with all of our vast knowledge and experience that we have, to combine more than 60 plus years.
You're dating us. Quit that.
Okay. And I know we did the best we could, but we know there were things that we couldn't fix. And there were many reasons behind that. But at the end of the day, if something was to be compromised or hacked, whose fault was it?
Who secured the system?
Yeah.
Well, and that's why you have to document what was the reason why something wasn't done.
Right.
And get appropriate management to sign off on it so you can shift the liability.
Yeah. I mean, there was always a kind of a thing of, we need to do this. Well, we don't have time. This other thing is a priority. Or we need to buy this. Well, we don't have the budget for that. You'll have to wait till next year. And next year it didn't get approved. And the year after that it didn't get approved. There's all these things. Well, time goes by.
Got approved when we replaced the equipment, though.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. It's kind of like, data is on this hard drive, and this hard drive is running out of space. We had to find a solution without removing any data off the hard drive and without replacing the hard drive. We found a solution. We left it alone. It filled up and it crashed. And we had to replace the whole thing. Ta-da. Solved the problem.
Self-correcting problem?
Self-correcting problem.
I hope, since the system crashed, I hope you had a sufficient backup.
Wasn't our data.
Not my data, not my problem.
That's right. So you do have issues, even though the IT people, even the good ones, there's problems. There's just the way organizations work. It's not 100%. It can never be. And even when you do get people that know what they're doing, it's still not enough because there's vulnerabilities that exist in systems that haven't been discovered yet. Well, if they haven't been discovered yet, how am I going to, as a security professional, as the IT person, how am I going to know that they're there, right? And, as security or IT staff, you have other responsibilities. Things get prioritized out. It's just the way it is. So you do the best that you can, but it's still not enough. Well, it's the equivalent of saying, I've drove for 30 years and I've never had a wreck. I don't need to wear a seatbelt. And that's a true statement.
You must be terribly, terribly tired to have driven for 30 years. And I don't know what kind of car you're driving, but it must get really good gas mileage.
There you go. So, in doing so, I mean, just because you can make a true statement out of that doesn't mean that it is a good idea.
No. Statistically speaking, we will all be involved in an automobile accident, and the statistics show that seatbelts generally save lives.
Yeah.
I have been in an accident that had I been wearing a seatbelt, I probably wouldn't be here.
Right. Right.
We've all been in those, but I still wear one on a daily basis.
Right. So determining, is the work that IT and security staff do to secure, our consumers or our individuals' data, is it good enough, right? That's another legal question, not a technical question at that point. Obviously, it technically wasn't good enough or else it wouldn't have happened, right? But there's many reasons why that happens. But now especially with today with cloud technology, things like that. And people start talking about the supply chain, right? Was a supply chain problem. Well, in IT, in the data world, you have those, and we've had those for a long time. It's not new. So, but now you're having third and fourth party suppliers of technology that now come into play. So, Office 365, right? And maybe that's a bad example, but other applications, thinking of it's in the cloud. It's not on my computers. It's somewhere else.
Well, let's go back to O365 for just a second. So Microsoft provides insights into your email in O365.
Yeah.
Is it Microsoft that's providing those insights, or is it a third party that's looking at it for Microsoft and providing them that data?
Yeah.
So in theory, if it's a third party for Microsoft, that's a fourth party to you. Did you sign off on them looking at your data to come up with those analytics to provide you insights?
Well, technically, I'm sure you did in that agreement that you just clicked OK and went past. But
the one that's multi-pages
but
long,
again,
really fine print.
Who's responsible for that, right? Well, ultimately, I know on that legal question, somebody's going to say, well, you clicked OK. You should have read through the details. Okay, so what if you don't agree to it? Well, then you don't click OK and you don't get the service.
Yeah.
So what choice do you have?
Wait a minute. The service that you've already bought and paid for.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's something that's even more relevant today. Let's say we, do business with a company and they say, well, we're going to put it on our servers and we're going to keep it secure for you. Okay. Thank you. Right. And they'll be very upfront with you. We do all of these steps. We take care of your data. We get audited and we're passing our audits, and we patch our systems as soon as the patches come out the very next day. I mean, they do everything you would think of. Okay, well, you're doing all that you can. And where are their servers at? Well, they host their servers in GoDaddy.
That would be a problem today.
That would be a problem today because GoDaddy has acknowledged that they've had their code breached. They've been breached for over 3 years.
Hackers running amok inside of GoDaddy for more than 3 years.
Yeah. Okay, so wait a minute. The company I was doing business with, the people that I hired to keep my data secure, they were doing everything they were supposed to, but their supplier supplying them services was GoDaddy. And I know GoDaddy, hires other partners, which would be those fourth and fifth party providers that now are having impact on your personal data when you just hired this one company. And I know a good company is going to have it in their agreement that you signed and understood that they're going to have their partners and all that's going to be there. But how do I know? I mean, they say they're going to do that. But how do I know what their agreements are with those other parties and those parties and what their agreements are? Are they going to handle that in a way that I'm going to approve?
Well, and from the business standpoint, are they going to wait for you to approve it before they do business?
Yeah. No, they're not. That's a business relationship for them.
Yeah.
So,
but it's my data that got breached or exposed.
Yeah.
And
again, now we've come back to it's a legal question. Right?
Well, and buried in the agreement is more than likely a hold harmless or something to the effect that you can't sue them.
Yeah. So let's say that wasn't there. Okay, I'm an individual, and I'm going to go sue Google? With whose money?
Good luck with that.
Yeah. So
you're the only way you're going to do any good is a class action lawsuit, and then you're going to have to find out who all the other Google people are. And
then once Google settles for the umpteen millions or billions of dollars, you'll get 25 cents.
Yeah.
So, and they really won't fix the problem.
Cost of doing business.
Cost of doing business, right? All right, so now what's left, right? Well, what's left is me. It's my responsibility. Okay, you got to equate it like, well, how do I keep my information secure? Well, where do you keep your credit cards? Do you put it out on the middle of the street? Do you give it to your neighbor? Do you just give it to a stranger passing by? No, you put it in your pocket. You keep it. You keep it secure. Nobody's going to touch it.
Don't share it.
Don't share it.
And that's my general philosophy with my data. When I go to purchase things, they go, "What's your phone number?" I ask them what their phone number is. I'm not sharing my phone number with them.
Yeah.
Well, it makes it easier for us to look up your purchase, and it makes it easier for you to send me phishing emails or ads, and it makes you easier to do these other things. And no, not interested. I'll be a grown adult. I'll keep my receipt, or I won't worry about the $4.99 item I bought.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm dating myself again. I remember the day you could take cash somewhere and you could give them cash, and they were very happy. They didn't need my name. They didn't need my telephone number. They didn't need anything. I had cash. I got what I wanted, and I walked out the door.
You know, it's interesting that you equate it to that, but on the business side, you have to manage and monitor the cash, where with the credit cards, it's automatically handled on the back end, and you don't have to worry about the drawer being short or the drawer being long or other things. So there's other benefits for the business for doing that.
There's conveniences for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't have to carry cash. I don't have to worry about being robbed and somebody stealing my cash. If I use credit cards, then my purchase is protected, so that if something happens and my credit card number is stolen, I can reject those charges. If I have a dispute with the actual company that I did business with, and I can dispute that charge and potentially protect myself, protect my money, protect everything. So that's a great thing. Okay, but what are they going to ask for? Not your credit card. They're going to ask for your name, your address, your telephone number. They're going to ask for those personal information.
We also need your email address and your name of your firstborn and.
And of course, you and I know, being part of security, I mean, why does companies have to have that? Because in all reality, there is a business transaction model where they don't have to have any of that information. So if that's true, why do companies still insist on collecting all that information? Well, you said it very clearly.
Marketing.
Because it's not the one sale they want; it's the next 100 sales that there are 100 transactions that you're going to do. They want you to do that with them.
Okay, how many people believe that Domino's is a pizza company? They're an IT company. They have so much data on all their customers; it's not even funny.
Yeah,
and all the analytics, and then they turn around and have that to sell or rent to other companies.
Yeah, not to pick on Domino's. A lot of major companies, Walmart being one of them, Target being another.
Huge.
They were the leaders. They were doing this very early on in the 60s and 70s.
So Walmart is. How many of you use free Walmart or free Wi-Fi at Walmart? If you know anything about Wi-Fi, you'll know that there's a whole bunch of radios in Walmart. Well, they've actually oversaturated the space so they can better track all of the phones. So they know the pattern of the people in the stores, and they know what items are in those areas where people are traversing. Then they sell the location data to vendors to market their goods.
Yeah.
It's quite the impressive model.
Yeah. And it's very accurate, very up to date, and it's extremely valuable to these companies. So you want to know why companies can sell things so cheap when they're either losing money on that resale or they're not making very much money at all. Well, how do they make their money? It's all the back end business that they do. We can have a whole nother video on just those topics of how that happens, and that's not really a security, but at the point we're talking about right now, we're talking about my data, and it's the things I do. And these companies are making things extremely convenient and easy and comfortable for me to use. And there's major benefits for me to use all this technology for them, with them, as a part of them, and share information, because they make a lot of money off of it, and they're going to make it as easy as possible on me. But just knowing they don't have to. We know this. There's tokenization. There's all kinds of things where basically you can enter in all the information minimum necessary, even a credit card number, to make that transaction happen. And the company never knows anything other than here's a transaction number, here's the money, here's the product, and here's where it needs to go.
But they're not interested in that.
But they're not interested.
They want all the other data.
They want all the rest of it because that's where the value is. That's where they make all their money.
Long-term value.
Long-term value. Yeah. So, okay, let's just say that all of that, is off the table, and it's like, okay, we're not suing Google. It's not going to happen. We're not suing these companies. Breaches are just going to continue to happen. It's just going to happen. There's no way you can stop it. And no, we're not suing them. It's not going to happen, right? Okay, but these are real losses. There's real dollars and very significant dollars that companies lose, the manufacturers lose, the software creators lose, the IT, and the security staff that are hired to help secure this stuff. There's a lot of money being spent for them to learn and to do all this. There's lots of negotiations for third and fourth parties being put together to establish these great relationships to offer you and me more benefits and conveniences. And then, of course, there's us. I want more conveniences. So here's more information. Here's more. Give me more. Give me more. So at the end of the day, of all those expenses for all of these security breaches and all of these losses that impacts me directly, who pays for that?
The consumer.
Yeah, you do. I do.
I do. We all do.
Everybody out there, they pay for it.
Yeah.
Right. It costs the doing business for them, and they pass those costs down.
Well, and if you sue Google, if you sue the manufacturer of X, the price just goes up and it gets passed back to the consumer.
Yep.
Or in Google's, they just pass it in to the ads that is then raises the price that we, the consumer, then pay.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for having this conversation with us, and we want you to comment. We want you to share your thoughts and ideas with us below in the comment section. We will reply. We'd love to hear your thoughts about new topics or additional topics or something that you would like us to clarify. And we do appreciate your time and viewing our video. And we're going to be coming out with additional videos as well as new podcast. So thank you for joining us, where we are the original security guys, and we do things Okie style.